Welcome to the Cup of Nurses podcast.
Go.
Hey guys, welcome to the Cup of Nurses podcast. We are your hosts, Matt Treltrick and myself, Peter Fendera, up in here in Oakland. Episode number 13.
How you guys doing today? We're excited to let you guys know that we are going to start a Facebook group, which is going to be called Cup of Nurses. It's already in the works, and it's going to be a community-based group. Anything nursing related, student nurses, anything that you have a question for, share some funny memes. We're going to create a nice community. You guys should join. It's Cup of Nurses on Facebook. Check it out.
Yeah, we also got a Facebook page for Cup of Nurses. And even though there's a handful of already nursing groups, I feel like ours would be a little bit more genuine. Won't be as polluted.
It'll be a smaller community, but a stronger community. So
Yeah, and you guys know you're going to be talking to nurses, so we have the nursing experience, so maybe it's more relatable to you guys.
quality over quantity.
Yeah, probably more information, more of the nursing perspective.
Exactly. So the topic today is travel nursing. We are in the works of completing our first contract. It was quite an experience, right? Learning everything and just going through the motions. So in today's episode, we're going to dive down how it all starts from start to finish of applying for your license to actually landing your first contract to housing and just maybe about the hospital set life when you're actually a travel nurse.
Right. A few people asked us a few questions about travel nursing, so hopefully we could hit all of them today, or at least the main ones, just so you guys know. And like Mike said, if you guys have more questions, hit up the group. We can answer them for you, or somebody else could answer them.
Yeah. So the first topic is, what is a travel nurse? So travel nurse is probably anybody that travels to work like outside of a 50-mile radius is what it's considered in order to get your stipends, the pay, which is beautifully untaxed by Uncle Sam, right?
Oh yeah, Uncle Sam. He's got the good, he's got the bad. But nursing, travel nursing is more like a freelance kind of gig. Like you could say Fiverr, how people just write for somebody that hires them to write something. That's kind of how travel nursing also works. There's a shortage in certain states of travel, or there's a shortage of nurses in certain states, and they need nurses, so they import nurses from other states. Usually they're higher paying states, so it's profitable for nurses to come from, let's say like Rhode Island, or where we come from Illinois, travel to California or Hawaii, where the cost of living is more, but that also means that the pay is more, so your income is more. And it's probably why it's really attractive, is because you make more money, and they're short nurses.
Not only that, but there's like this huge market for wanderlusting. So everybody likes to travel. Everybody likes the idea of it. But so this allows you to do what you love, which is nursing or your passion, and also go visit a different state, different environment, and it's a rich experience. And plus, like it completely takes you outside your comfort zone. And living in a different place and working in a different place. So it's like a complete 360 in your life, being away from your family, close friends, and just learning. And you learn a lot about yourself, wouldn't you say so?
You definitely do, because it's just you taking on this challenge of a new environment, a new town, a new city, new people, new dialects, new climate, and it's completely different. You could technically like travel inside your hospital by like floating. Let's say you float from ICU to ICU. But traveling to a different state and working at an ICU in a different state, that's a complete whole different thing. They have different laws that govern them, different policies, different procedures, and like nursing is completely different each state. Not completely different, but there's drastic changes that we've seen and we'll talk about in a little bit.
Well, when you started your contract, do you think it's completely different?
A lot of it's different. I feel like there's different stresses here compared to Illinois, and there's a different way we do things here compared to Illinois.
Like the process?
And even the equipment. Like they have different chest tubes that I'm used to.
Right.
And just seeing that, you kind of learn both, because maybe, a surgeon uses a different chest tube one time, and you're like, oh yeah, now that looks like I've seen it in California. So you just kind of learn their type of nursing.
Yeah, it's a rich experience. I think it builds resilience. So basically, when you get back home, you're gonna be on top of your shit, because I feel like you're gonna gain more independence. Mm-hmm. Stress might be a little bit different because of these awesome ratios here, but you're still gonna learn so much, and I feel like you might be asking less questions, because I feel like sometimes you don't have a great resource when you travel nurse, and you are your own like encyclopedia. You better find out on Google, ask me, we call it Dr. Google, right?
Right.
Or you ask somebody, hopefully, and not everybody is always as responsive as your, home base.
Yeah, you just gain a different type of knowledge. You get a different perspective on how things should be done compared to what you're used to.
Yeah.
So basically, your travel nurse is going to be like your freelance nurse. You travel 50 miles outside your home radius, right? So that's pretty much what travel nursing is. So how does it work?
How do you become a travel nurse?
Yeah, well, how do
first,
you become
probably?
how do you become a travel nurse? So first of all, you obviously need your at least your BSN. I'm not sure. I think there's social nurses that travel too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is, but preferably BSN and at least like 2 years of experience.
Yeah, so you get your BSN. So basically, you need your typical nursing degree. You pass your NCLEX, you become a registered nurse in your state, and you probably want a year plus experience. Personally, I would recommend at least 2. I feel like having a year and a half of ICU of your specialty, and then going into things like you need a little bit more backbone because you're just getting tossed into a whole different situation. You just gotta adapt so much that having a better backbone, I would say it's better.
Yeah, it's very true. I've thought about travel nursing when I first graduated, but I'm really happy that I waited.
I don't think you can as a new grad.
I have no idea, but I have thought about it. I didn't really look into it once I finished school, but I decided to take a position, at my current hospital or my hospital in Illinois. But definitely would not want to do this, like being a novice nurse.
Mm-hmm.
By novice, I mean like less than 2 years of experience because you gotta hit the ground running and like you gotta know a good amount of at least like the ICU basics to be like an ICU float,
Well, anybody further wants to do ICU travel nursing, I think when it comes to specialties, you definitely have to know a lot more than just typical med surg. Because med surg, you could probably manage within a year. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's not as intense, but you are dealing with less and less complicated situations compared to the ICU.
Yeah, that's completely true. I mean, I still recommend probably 2 years, just to keep it safe and just so you get a good grip and good bearing on like your staff position.
Yeah. So once you do that, you feel like you have the experience and you're ready to start. You have to first apply for the state they want to do your license in. So if you're doing it within your state, then you kind of have to skip this process because you already have your license. You could find an agency. But if you don't, let's just say you're traveling to Texas, Arizona, or California, which we did, you have to go into like the government site and see the steps that you have to do in order to get your license. So for us, we had to, get our fingerprints done, a background check, drug test, and everything else. You send out an application. You have to pay a nice sum, which was like $400 something, and you also have to send out your resumes from your university in order to get the license.
Yeah, so the whole paperwork application process, you could do it on paper or on the computer, and that probably takes a good whole day because you got to gather all your information, all your paperwork. You got to find your your RN license ID or number or whatever it's called.
Hopefully organized too at that time.
But I mean, it's not too hard to find. You just got to type in your information on like the NCLEX website or something, and it tells your license number. But yeah, by the time you gather all the information or all of the paperwork that you gotta fill out or send out, so you need like your ID, like I said, your RN license number. You gotta get your transcripts from your school. You gotta fax over or scan over your ID and 2 types of ID. I think it was like your passport and something else. So that process alone, just the application process, takes like a good whole day because you gotta get all that stuff and like Matt said, the resume as well. And then you got to pay a sum. I forgot how much we paid. What is it, like $500?
Yeah, I said $400.
Yeah, something like that. And then you just really got to do is wait. If it's a popular state, it could take like 3-4 months. If it's like an easier state, it might take quicker. Or there's no compact states that one RN license covers like 6 states or more.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is apply once, and then you become.
You have to be in that state though.
Right. So you got to be located in that state. So we got to like reside in one of those states, correct?
Yeah.
So you got to reside in that state,
that.
yeah. So to get that whole benefit, so one RN license covers like 6 states, and they share it. But it's more of a waiting game once you get everything filled out and the money sent in. I know for me, they said they lost my transcripts or there was some kind of issue with the transcripts. They weren't officially sealed or something of that nature. So it took me probably like a month longer than it did Matt. I think it took you like 3 months to get your California license, right? It took me like a month longer, so 4. And just pain in the butt because I had everything done, and they didn't contact me and saying that there was an issue with anything. I had to call them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we thought we told you 3 weeks ago, but no, you didn't." So I had resent everything. So I had to pay the $20 to get my
I think
school stuff sent over.
communication is a huge barrier, and it's not only the process when it comes to applying, it's also the agency and the hospital and actually work itself.
Yeah.
So communication is always one of those things you're going to be dealing with as a travel nurse, and it sometimes gets annoying because of the lack of communication.
Yeah, and guess what, guys? Once you finish paperwork for the state licensure, you also got the paperwork for the agency you want to look for.
Yeah.
And that's quite a bit of paperwork as well. That could take, a whole day, 2 days. Just depends how much agencies you do it. They all want their own checklist. They all want their information. So basically, same thing you send over to these licensure places, you're also going to send over to your recruiter.
It's applying to a new hospital.
Yeah.
It's like applying for a new hospital. I'm sorry. It's just like you said, checklists and all that. And then you have to find out what agency you want to work for. They also have different packages. Some of them offer like a higher hourly pay, lower stipends, and every single agency has better contracts with better hospitals, so you might get better deals somewhere. So you just have to DYOR on a few agencies, see what they offer, talk to the recruiter, and just get comfortable with them. And I would definitely recommend an awesome recruiter, someone they feel comfortable with and trust, because they're going to back you up if something's up. If you don't like something about the hospital or you're upset about something, that's the first person you're texting or calling. So
It's just like a car salesman. They're going to try to take advantage of some people and negotiate with others. So you do want to find a recruiter that you could talk to about anything you could feel that you can be open to, and you can ask some questions about anything, about any little thing. Like, say your first time travel nursing, you want to get as much information out as possible, so you learn what kind of contract you want. Like the breakdown of the contract, simple wise, you got the hourly pay. Sometimes it says the blended rate, which is going to be your hourly rate from the hospital and the amount of money that the agency will give to you. And there's, of course, stipends.
yeah.
And that's like your non-taxable living expenses that the agency gives you just for living there, just for kind of being with them, right?
It pays for your food and it pays for your rent. So let's just give a scenario. So you're making $20 an hour, and they give you $500 for food and $800 for rent. So you got $1,300, right? So that $1,300 you basically get every single week on top of your hourly pay to live. So whatever your housing is, whatever you spend on food, you do the math. Let's just say you spend $800 a week for rent and food, you're taking home the other money, and you can do whatever you want with it. So that's the cool part. If you are able to kind of max out your benefits or your stipends, and you're kind of living not on a budget, able to still enjoy yourself, you're kind of racking in some good cash.
Yeah, and agencies also provide health insurance and all that kind of like 401k stuff. We're not too familiar with that because we didn't take any kind of health insurance with our agency, but there's an option too. I'm not sure how good it is or how that process works, but I'm sure there's people out there that have taken health insurance and 401k plans just because we're not sure if we're going to go to the same agency again or if we're going to do this again. So we decided not to. And plus we have our staff jobs as well that we pay into, and that handles our 401ks.
Because we took a leave of absence, so that's why we still have the staff job on top of the agent. So on top of everything, definitely get your agent in place. That's your recruiter, I should say. Like, for example, our recruiter, she's actually really cool. She even sent us like a lunchbox, an Amazon gift card, like a little personalized package for traveling. She even got Peter cake for his birthday, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, that was actually really nice. I didn't expect that. First of all, I thought it was neighbor's cake because their dog recently died. Shout out to the dog.
That's the new podcast we're listening to. Kyle passed away, the dog that they're looking for downstairs.
His name's not Kyle. Is it Kyle? The person's name's Kyle. The dog's something else.
Irrelevant.
Okay, but the dog passed away, yeah. First of all, we thought he got found last week, but I guess did not get found. Well, he did get found, but he wasn't alive anymore. I'm sure he probably got hit by a car, unfortunately. But I thought the cake was for them.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't even look at the box. But our recruiter sent me a cake for my birthday, which was a couple of days ago, June 16th. And that was very nice. Unexpected, but that was cool of her. You gotta find an agent like that. Get your birthday cake for your birthday. Make sure you travel on your birthday too, so you get a cake.
Yeah, I would recommend that. And maybe a gift card for free.
There you go.
So after you get all this in place, you have a recruiter, you have your license ready to go, you're ready basically to travel. You told your parents, I'm sure, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you made a decision, you're committed, so now you're ready to roll. So basically now you have to apply for a job to a hospital, and there's a process to that. So an agent will send you contracts. It'll be, whether days or nights, the position, the amount of weeks of the contract. So usually it's very nice to get 13 weeks, right? That's the standard. There's 8 and there's longer contracts. Depends what you get. So I think 13 is probably ideal. because then housing becomes an issue. So most short-term leases are a minimum of 3 months, and we had an 8-week contract, and we struggled with that because we couldn't get like a private. We had to get a private realtor to find us housing, which was actually hers.
Yeah. You could also Airbnb it, but that's usually on the pricier side. Airbnbs tend to be more for people that are vacationing compared to like short-term leases or long-term leases. So it's more geared for vacation, so it's a little bit more pricier.
Yeah.
So yeah, but for
I
the
would
most
I
part,
would I would do private for sure. So after you do that, it's not like you're gonna land a job right away just because a recruiter sends you a contract. We thought that like, oh, let's apply to this place. We were very picky at first with the contracts because we thought like once you select the contract, you're just gonna work. No, it doesn't work like that. Like it's legit. Like getting an interview, you have to first get placed, and if it's your first time traveling, I think it's a really hard time. I think we got denied probably like at least 20 times.
not about 20 times, but
A good 20 times.
yeah. I mean, we were picky, and it's okay to be picky. I think for the most part, we had a struggle landing a job is because we were asking for a lot, and a lot of times people would apply, and position would already get filled.
Yeah, and we're
That's
also a
probably-
travel nursing pair, so we told them that we have to be within like a 25-mile traveling radius between hospitals, or we have to work for the same hospital in the ICU to float. So that kind of created an issue because you're both inexperienced, and a lot of hospitals are like, well, we don't want these guys. They're both inexperienced, and they both have to work in the same hospital. So that becomes an issue as well.
Yeah, just like with any job, the more pickier you are, the less opportunity you're going to have. I mean, which is okay. You want to land a job that you're okay to work with 13 weeks. And even if you don't, it's okay. It's only 13 weeks. You could hustle it out for 3 months. It's really not that big of a deal. 3 months is nothing compared to like your whole life, you know. And now you know not to go there again.
And it's worth the experience and what you learned and what you took away from it. So that process probably takes another few weeks because you're filling out applications and it's a waiting game. It's a waiting game between the recruiter and, you know, our recruiter is cool because she was sending us texts, right, and emails. So it's kind of figuring out what's going on. Then finally you're waiting for an interview. So sometimes I had an interview, you know, PD didn't, and it was vice versa. So it was just really annoying finding a job where they both accepted us, right?
Yeah.
So that took a little bit.
But we did find it. You know, if you keep looking, you'll find it. You know, it just might take a little bit longer than you think, and that's completely okay.
Being persistent. And after you accept that, you basically talk to the you know, what is it called? You have an interview. So you just simple questions of what are, you know, I forgot.
Like your strengths and your weaknesses, what your background is, kind of like what you're more experienced with. And then you have the opportunity to ask questions back. So you could ask how the unit is laid out. That's probably a very good question to ask, the layout of unit, because like our unit currently, it's like it's one ICU, but there's like 3 different rooms where you gotta cross 2 types of doors. So you gotta go through a hallway. So you have one ICU
with like 10 rooms.
With 10 rooms, and to get to the other 10 rooms, you gotta, you know, go through one door, go through the hallway, and then go to the other door. So it's kind of a little inconvenient, you could say, and probably not the safest way to keep an ICU compared to like the regular U or the circle where all the units are, or all the beds are in this one whole unit, circling nurses station. So this is kind of a little bit not what I'm used to, but it's good to ask. You could also ask about the patient population. That's a good question to ask. See what you're dealing with, what kind of you know, pumps they use, what kind of critical issues they see a lot, like number 1 diagnosis, just like things like that. So you kind of
just acuity.
Yeah, so you can familiarize yourself. You know, if there's a lot of trach patients and you haven't had a lot of trach patients, it's a good question to ask, because then you kind of prep a little bit. Maybe when you go back to your staff job, be like, hey, can I get a few trachs this week, just because I'm, you know, traveling in a couple of weeks and I want to get a better handle on these things.
Yeah, that, and you also want to ask how the team dynamics are. A lot of people don't. I'm sure the experienced nurses understand that. Hey, experience or not experience, teamwork is like A1. Like if you have, it doesn't matter how great the hospital is. If you have a shitty team, like your shift's gonna go to crap. So you always want to find out, are people kind of like having that queen bee syndrome at work, or for the most part are they really cool? Everybody's helpful. On nights, everybody's pretty young, so there's a nice ratio between very, very young and then like the experienced nurses, which are like in their, you know, 50s and plus. So I like the dynamic there, because you always have like a good reference online.
Yeah, it's always good to have younger nurses and older nurses. Just older nurses have more experience. Obviously, they've probably been there longer, so they kind of got a better handle on things. And your younger nurses, you know, you're the go-getters. You're more inclined to do things, you know, to help out. But you definitely want to know how the dynamics are for the most part, just so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah. So job gets accepted, and now you're kind of negotiating the contract. So step moving forward, your interview was awesome. They liked you. They're offering you the position. Usually you have like 48 hours to make a decision. After that, everything picks up really quick. So now you have to make a decision. Do you like the contract? Do you want to negotiate? I feel like our first contract, we didn't have much to say. This is it. That's all we could do.
Yeah, it's completely okay to have a bad first contract. I'm not saying we had a bad first contract. I'm completely happy with our contract and our experience. But think about it. It's like you're only there for, once again, 13 weeks. And if you don't get the best contract, it's okay. You're mostly going to make just as much money as you did, back in your staff job, if not more. So you have nothing to lose but more experience. And like I said before, now you know not to go there again, or to kind of ask for more stipends and less hourly pay and just things like that. Maybe look for better housing. Maybe you select the housing and you kind of just settled for whatever there is and you kind of paid a little bit more than you had to.
Yeah.
So you kind of just learn as you go. And the more contracts you take, you kind of know which town, is better for certain things and where to house. And you can find a more appropriate contract the more you experience with these contracts.
And they're also going to give you more like leeway in negotiating your pay, getting higher stipends. With experience comes more pay. So that all depends there.
And even if you're not really satisfied with the pay, but you really like the hospital, you always have the choice to extend your contract. Yeah. And that's kind of when you could ask for, hey, I've been here for 13 weeks. How about you throw in some little bit more money? And I was staying for another 13 weeks. And it makes it a lot easier for the hospital because, A, you've already been there. You have experience. You know how things work. And B, they don't got to look for anybody else to fill your position.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're out traveling, you kind of want to focus on how much you make sure it's accurate to what the contract said. You want to look at your actual contract thoroughly to see what happens when you get called off. When you get sent home early, or your sick days, how much earlier do you got to call, to call off. You kind of know where you stand financially because you also got to, deal with housing expenses. You got to get food. You got to, get gas. If you're renting a car, you got to pay that rent for that car.
Yeah, and little things like I've realized that I didn't know about, for example, when I started my contract is I'm guaranteed to work 4 days a week, and the hospital canceled me one day because I worked 8 days in a row, or I worked 7 days in a row, and the 8th day in a row is illegal technically by California because they have to pay me overtime. So they canceled my shift, and I texted my recruiter. I'm like, so what's going to happen with my stipends? Well, I didn't know that I have to pay like $160 penalty to my travel agency. So they kind of deduct the pay for me, and they didn't give me the hourly rate that I'm supposed to technically work. But I still got my stipends. It's just little things I didn't know about that. In my contract, it says that the hospital has the right to cancel me twice, and the third time they cancel me, I reap the full benefits of my contract.
Yeah, and that's something you gotta look at, and also you gotta look at the overtime pay. See how much you gain overtime, if it's even worth it to pick up overtime. Like for us, it's not very worth it to pick up overtime because we may get a few more dollars.
$10 more.
Yeah, an hour, which is like my staff position. It's not really worth it. I'd rather just work my 4 days or 4 nights and call it even. Stay busy. The other 3 or 7 days in a week.
Sit at home and record a podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. Stay busy other ways, and you also gotta throw in, if you work out, you also gotta sign up for a new gym membership. You gotta figure out how that works because a lot of times they don't allow for like a 13-week gym membership. You gotta play the system a little bit.
Yeah, I had to put my account on pause and then find another one here that we don't have a sign up fee and all that other stuff.
Yeah, little things like that. Tollways you gotta pay for, so you gotta budget that in to make sure it's really worth it for you to travel.
Yeah. Okay, so you, as a nurse, you finally accepted your first job. Now what it's gonna happen, there's gonna be this huge process for us. We basically had 2 weeks to get to California from Illinois, since the start of the signing of the contract to the start date. So within those 2 weeks, you basically are very emotionally, I would say, unstable. You got a lot of stuff going through you because you're literally going to pack your shit in a car and just leave or fly out, whatever the case might be. And you're leaving everything behind, your lifestyle, your routine, the way you were organized. It's mind-blowing, actually, the stuff you had to do. But in between that time, on top of everything and planning, you got to do a lot of agency stuff to prepare you for this contract. So you have to get your vaccines. You have to do a bunch of like net learning, CBLs, all this stuff, and online tests in order to be completely ready to travel. And that was actually time consuming. Or doing your NIH stroke scale to be certified in specific things if we weren't already. That dragged.
Yeah, like Matt said before, it's just like applying to a new nursing job. You get your physical, vaccines. They all have to verify because, hospitals have their health guidelines they got to stick to, make sure you're properly vaccinated, get your flu shot, all that. And it is paid for, but you do have a certain amount of time to get that completed. Like they set you up with a clinic and hours in between. You got to go and you got to get it done.
Yeah, and they do everything for you. They literally set up the appointment for the drug test, the appointment for the drug screen, the N95 respiratory mask. They set all that up for you. They send you an email. At least this agency that we went through, they set it up really nicely. I don't know how other agencies and recruiters are, but yeah. So you're getting all that done, and the next thing is to find your housing. And that might be a little bit tricky, just like we talked about. If it's an 8-week contract compared to 13, you can't do like a lease. So you might have to look privately. The agency usually provides a website with ways to find housing. And I use something called Furnish Finder. I basically send out an application for people it's like Airbnb, but it's third party, and you're eliminating all those Airbnb fees that come with it. And I had a private real estate agent that reached out to me. She had a few homes. I checked out the images, and I signed my own contract there, right? So we had another contract that had to do with leasing a place for 2 weeks, for 2 months where we currently live. That's another thing to kind of find out the little nitty gritty, like, hey, the trash gets thrown out Thursday, or, this and that. And you basically have to do a deposit. So we did all the transactions through Venmo, which reminds me, I got to pay the landlord, huh?
So we'll pay after this. Record first. Yeah, and then you got to figure out how to get there. Are you going to drive there? Are you going to fly and then fly your car over? Are you going to Turo it? Are you going to rent a car? So expenses go on that too. So once you finally settle in, orientation comes. So we got rid of some stress. Now we got to add some more stress.
And also the agency will give you like a travel fee, a travel expense for your move. So for example, our agency paid us like $250 for the move, which kind of covered the gas and maybe the hotel that we spent one night, because it was a 2-day commute from Illinois to California.
Yeah, so if you're driving, you got to plan ahead and make sure you plan out your drive, because it might take you like 1 or 2 days,
Yeah.
And then once you get there, you're probably real tired. You're probably going to sleep the next day, so you don't want to get there right before. You want to plan out you get there safely a few days ahead of time of your orientation date.
Yeah, give yourself a few days, settle in, check out the neighborhood, because you're living in a brand new place. Like you're figuring out where you should park, where the convenient store is. If you work out, you have to find the gym, or where your nearest Walmart or Target is to get things, grocery store, local farmer's market. So it's kind of cool because you're diving into this new experience and learning everything all over.
Yeah. So once you familiarize with your environment, then you start orientation. And I think usually orientation is like 1 or 2 days. We kind of lucked out. We had a week worth of like online education that new hires would get, because a lot of people with us weren't just travel nurses; they were new hires.
Yeah.
Correct. So we kind of went through like the procedures and policies of like a person that was hired as a staff nurse that would go through. So we kind of lucked out, I feel like.
It might be standard, actually.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure. The first week is, remember I told me the contract is always a week less. So the first week is always orientation.
That's always that book work?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first week is going to be learning about like the policy procedures, kind of like entry to research, and just familiarizing yourself with the policy and procedures. And that's usually like your day shift from like 9 to 5 or 9 to 4 or whatever at the time is. And then you have like 2 nights of orientation on the actual unit.
And that kind of sucked too, because we went from working nights to 1 week of getting up at 6 a.m. and going to our orientation from 8 to 4. And then we jumped back to working nights. So that kind of sucked, that shift, if you're working nights, where you kind of flip-flop between sleeping days and nights, and that's annoying.
Yep. And you want to make sure that you ask your manager or somebody higher up if you got to complete like any kind of paperwork or kind of checklist. Because me and Matt found out like last week that we have a whole packet to do. That
at least 100 pages.
Yeah, that we got to do by the time we end our contract. And I guess they told us about this in the beginning of our contract, but never brought it back up. So we weren't sure if we were supposed to do it. Actually, I don't even remember them telling us anything about it. And then bang, last week we got like an email saying, hey, please turn your checklist by this time. And we're like kind of rushing to complete it. And then something called Health Streams, which is these online courses that we got to take, that we spend one day and we finished half of them. I guess those we got to complete 2, but we're gonna try and finagle our way out of there because we're not staff. So
Yeah.
I don't plan on doing those, to be honest. It's kind of it's just a pain. Like I don't feel like I gotta do that kind of stuff. But yeah,
And like also like there was like a mandatory meeting that they signed us up to.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a staff. I'm not gonna go to a meeting about like whatever the biggest thing that's happening currently right now. It's like, come on.
yeah, and plus this meeting is like at the end of our contract. Like, how is it gonna benefit us in any kind of sort of way?
But we signed up for it at the end, so we should skip it. By the way,
so we're gonna skip anyway. So we're just gonna say, yeah, we can't do it.
so we're kind of bending the rules a little bit.
Yeah, and I feel you can. Well, we're gonna find out. We'll get back to you on that one if they fire us before our contract leaves.
No.
But they're not. We're pretty good nurses. I feel like we're highly valuable everywhere we go, and we're an asset to every team.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so you get your 2 nights of orientation on the unit, and I suggest just familiarizing yourself with the unit layout itself. This is where the 2 years of experience comes into play because you know how to nurse. Now you just gotta familiarize yourself with the environment. So you know what you gotta do is you gotta figure out what goes where and where everything's located.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to put an IV in if you don't know where the IV start kits are.
Yeah, that and also learning the charting system. If you're familiar with Epic and you go to work Epic on this contract, that's a little bit easier. But if you're dealing with a brand new charting system, I think that's like a hurdle because not only do you have to do nursing care at the new environment, you got to learn how to chart on a new system. And that sucks ass because charting is such a huge part of nursing, unfortunately.
Yeah, so charting itself, even if you know how to chart, that takes up a big chunk of time. We can really as nurses. And now imagine you trying to chart a whole new charting system where you don't know where everything's located. So that's going to take like twice as much amount of time. Because if you don't know where something is, guess what? You got to ask. And by the time they show you, and then, okay, you got to write the first time. But then you leave for an hour and they're trying to do the same thing over again. You might forget a few steps, especially if it's like a long process. Some hospitals required to write notes. I haven't had to write a note unless it's like something urgent, like a code or like a rapid or some kind of a serious issue that happened. Then I write notes. But here you're required to write a note every shift.
Yeah. Also, I would familiarize myself with the scheduler, the person that puts in your schedule. If you kind of befriend them and they like you, you might get away with a little bit of things. Like one day I want, someone flew in, I had to switch a day, and she was okay with it. And you could kind of manipulate your schedule so it kind of works for you. And if they don't like you, then damn, you might be, going for a nice ride of working shitty days. Or I know there was this nurse that was working like 3 weekends in a row, and she just did it that way. And she said, sorry, but she already messed up, and that sucks.
Yeah, or Ping, he has to work 5 nights instead of the usual 4. So most nurses in the hospital work 4, or most, if not all, and his contract was for 5. He kind of looked it over and kind of signed too quick, and he realized that most people work 4s instead of 5s. And he's kind of stuck working 5. The same with that guy that has to work every weekend. That's so annoying.
Yeah.
You kind of got to know what you're getting yourself into. And like Matt said, familiarize yourself with the scheduler. Just because, you get a nice conversation, they like you, you like them, you might have some leeway with them. Maybe they'll switch a day or 2 or a weekend or 3. Probably not 3 weekends, but still. But yeah, so just kind of be nice. You also got to familiarize yourself with, like, the nurses. I don't feel like our unit's too cliquey.
No, there's definitely like little side groups, or I don't think people are like as close as they should be.
Yeah, I think it's because it's an 8-hour shift. People aren't as close because they're meeting together for 8 hours compared to like half 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of talk to nurses, kind of get to know everybody, and don't be afraid to help them out because they'll help you out when you need help as well.
And realize that whatever specialty you work for, it depends how things are. But for the intensive care unit, you're floating a lot because you're the first one to float compared to the staff nurses for the hospital, which sucks because we floated like 3 days in a row. And that's another thing. You're going to, like, let's just say a med-surg unit or tele unit. They don't tell you where things are. You don't get an orientation of, hey, this is that, the PICS is there, the pantry's there. You're just getting freaking thrown into the damn unit. Here's your little collared thing. Here's your assignment, and you go.
Yeah.
I broke a sweat the first time. I'm like, damn, this is some shit. No one's holding my hand here. I better figure this out on my own.
Yeah, and I've personally never been floated in my life until I took this contract. So I've never been used to more than 3 patients max. And getting 4, it completely kind of throws you off because, like Matt said, you gotta find where everything is. You don't get an orientation on this unit because you got there 2 nights in ICU where you're supposed to work, and they throw you in and you just go.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there's like relief nurses and charge nurses here that you have time to ask questions about. But like any med surg or tele floor, you have more than 2 patients, so you're running around mostly all day.
Yeah. And let's just say in the middle of your contract, you might be looking for another contract. So that's another process that's we haven't personally did yet because we're not traveling for another contract. We're going back to our like home bases. But for some, you might be kind of thinking about what's your next move, where's your next contract, and just kind of planning and coordinating that.
Yeah, your easiest choice would be to renew the same contract you have, just because you have everything filled out. But if you don't like your unit and you don't like your contract, or you just want to try something new once again, you're gonna have to reapply for everything. So you gotta do that way ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because the application process that you did before, you're gonna need to do all over again, depending if it's a different hospital system. You're for sure gonna have to do all the new checklist.
Yeah.
If it's the same system but different location, you have a little bit more leeway there. But yeah, you can't just. You need a contract in place before your last, probably 2 weeks of finishing off your old contract, because then where are you gonna go if you have nowhere to go? Like if you don't have a home base, then you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, and there are some nurses that, let's just say, take a week off or two, go back home, hang out with their family, and catch up on whatever they had to back home, and then they could do another contract. So all depends, and you could go back to back. Personally, that'd be pretty cool, but we're only doing one for now, and maybe the adventure will happen again soon.
Yeah, we have our own responsibilities in Illinois, so I'm definitely want to do travel nursing again, maybe in a few months, but we do gotta settle some stuff in our home state. Anything else you want to mention about travel nursing?
Yeah, Peter has he's most wanted in Illinois.
Yeah.
He'll come back and serve a sentence, huh?
Yeah, I'm debating. Yeah, I might have to do my prison time. What they got me for like 8 months now. Trying to get out in 4. So we'll see.
And I would also, on top of organizing everything, definitely planning outside of work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have 4 days off, 3 days off. If you're not picking up shifts as much, find things to do, find things to explore, try new food. I know here in Oakland, like we're just kind of going hiking, checking out San Fran, all the awesome places. And that's another thing that's cool in the experience is you're able to hop around a city, learn it for 8 weeks, get used to it, and then just do something all over again. I think there's definitely not addiction. There's definitely a cool high from that, and it kind of sucks you into travel nursing because you could do that, and then you're not obligated to stay in one place, or you don't got to deal with the politics of the hospital and all that.
You're freelance. You don't like where you work. Just stick it out for a few more weeks, and then you go somewhere else. Yeah, but definitely you want to balance work and fun.
Yeah.
Because even though you're having a horrible time at work, you still might have a lot of fun outside of work. You could find things to do. You could go out. You could see different things, and you balance that out. You could balance out suffering through work and having fun outside of work. And that's always good to have. And plus, you're doing something new, something you're completely not used to. If you're more of a land person and you're having a travel assignment by the ocean, go scuba diving, do some water sports, go surfing.
I wanted to try windsurfing, but we never got there.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
we
pretty.
could sign up the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. A lot of things to do. There's always something to do, no matter what town you're in, no matter how small the town is, no matter if you're in Bufu, Idaho. I don't know how big Idaho is or how popular it is, but you're trying new things. Just try it out.
Exactly.
Do you for a little bit.
Pretty jam-packed podcast here, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And don't forget to check out our Facebook group. Go on Facebook groups, Cup of Nurses. Join the freaking, become a member. And we're going to have a lot of cool things there. So don't forget to check that out.
Yeah, there's only so much we could fit into this podcast. So if you guys have more questions, like Matt said, if we didn't touch up on anything that you guys wanted to hear, or you got some good details, good experiences to share, check out our Facebook group, Couple Nurses. And
we're definitely going to start podcasting and interviewing people too, which is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to try to find some maybe cool travel nurses that we could talk with and, share our experience.
Right, and don't be afraid to share us. Don't be afraid to share us because, if you learn something, I'm sure someone else can learn something else, and you guys can talk about it.
Exactly, guys. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Share this with your family. Share this with your mom.
And your nurses.
We're trying to grow. We're top 10 right now, nursing podcast on Spotify, I believe. So let's keep growing. Keep the good vibes going, guys.
Yep, thanks, guys. Keep it smooth, Oakland.
Have a good night.